Iverson. I didn't know we were talking about your significant other. I was like, Steph Curry went to Georgetown. I didn't know that. I thought he was in Davidson.
With himself.
Hey,
Chris Manners, how are you?
Good. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, of course. Do you want to know where Steph went to school? I don't think so.
I'm learning a lot.
I know you are. We're all about education here. All right. You know, whenever we do a story about the Cavs, it's always like LeBron did this, this, and this. And then the Cavs won. That's how it usually goes. Well, here's another one of those stories. Cleveland beat the Kings for their 13th straight win. LeBron had a casual 32 points, 11 rebounds, 9 assists. So why does this just feel like the norm for him? Here he is talking before the game yesterday.
I think people just grown accustomed of what I do, and it just gets taken for granted at times of what I do, and because I do it so often, and it's been a constant thing for so long. It's like, that's what LeBron's supposed to do, so it looks easy, but it's not.
You did something.
So LeBron thinks people have just grown accustomed to what he does every night, which there is some truth to that. What do you think, Chris? Is LeBron taken for granted night in and night out?
I think there's something to what he said. Look, we're naturally inclined to be drawn to the shiny new thing, right? In 2011, it was Derrick Rose. A few years later, it was Kevin Durant. Recently, it's been Steph Curry. And LeBron has been this good really since, 04, 05, when he started to really take off in his career. So there's that. And there's also voter fatigue when it comes to MVP voting. Look, I've been an MVP voter for a long time. There are times when you kind of reflexively lean towards the new guy. When Rose was making his run and Durant and Curry. I think LeBron got absolutely robbed back in 2011 when Derrick Rose won his MVP. He was great that year. But we were all still pissed off at LeBron for leaving Cleveland and going down to Miami.
Yes.
Same thing with the Durant MVP a few years later. You easily could have voted for LeBron James. So absolutely, on some level, we take LeBron James for granted.
And on the MVP voting, it's not just that he hasn't won it. It's that 2 years ago, he finished third behind Kawhi Leonard. Last year, he finished fourth behind Kawhi Leonard and James Harden. Obviously, 2 years ago, Steph won it last year. Russ won it. So it's not just that he's not winning the MVP. It's that he's objectively better at every phase of the offensive game than Kawhi Leonard.
Yeah.
His teams had a better chance of winning the title than Kawhi's. If you flip-flopped their offensive numbers, it wouldn't even be a question. What I think's interesting about LeBron these last 2 years is he's somehow, statistically, it's the best we've ever seen him. This year, it's his career best field goal percentage, three-point percentage, and blocks per game. It's his second best rebounds and assists per game, second only to last year. So he's at his best, career best, everything in the last 2 years except for points per game. And we've never seen that from a guy, year 14 and 15. The closest we've seen to this type of longevity is Karl Malone, and that was his calling card, was the longevity late into his career. And that's the part that I think is jarring people loose of taking LeBron for granted, is the number year 15. They're like, wow, he's doing this in year 15. For some reason, that sounds so different than year 13 or year 14.
I just think as sports fans, too, that we have the... it's like when kids leave college in basketball or football, we pick out everything that they can't do. Like all of a sudden these kids are superstars. Baker Mayfield, for example. We're everything. Oh, no, he's not 6'2". Oh, he can't be the next Drew Brees. Oh, is he going to be a good leader? Like, this is what we do. And we've done that to LeBron ever since he's getting too much hype. His high school games are on television. Then he comes to Cleveland, and actually it's one of the few people that we've seen who was a prodigy, who actually lived up to the hype, all right? Took his team to the finals. Oh, then he's leaving, so now he's the villain. So that takes a part in the voting. But LeBron's biggest enemy is himself. It's the standard that he has set. All right? Now, we can blame it on writers. We can blame it on reporters, on fans. But when you have played as good as he has played, he's his own worst enemy. His standard is so high. And we like to pick things apart. And like you mentioned, the younger, the newer, the shiny toy, the 2018 model. Well, let's get that. Let's talk about Giannis. Giannis is playing phenomenal. He's not playing as good as LeBron. And I think a good example for that is Tom Brady. Tom Brady has set the example, the bar so high as far as what we expect is like, oh, it's just another game. No, he was brilliant.
And he gets credit for it, though. He gets MVP awards in his.
We don't give Tom Brady credit enough because you know what we do? Oh, how good. Well, what would he do without Belichick? Well, he don't have to play without Belichick. You know, what would he do without the New England organization? So we take points away from them either because of where they play or we make some type of excuse of why someone is better. Look at golf. This year with the Rams, his emergence. Let's look at Carson Wentz. Oh, he should be the MVP. Well, Tom Brady has played as well, and if Tom Brady was younger, he would be the runaway vote getter right now for the MVP, and it's the same thing I think as LeBron.
Let me tell you the difference with LeBron this year and why I think he's going to ultimately win MVP. Look, I was one of the Washington Post voters. I said James Harden was my MVP early, largely because when Chris Paul went down, James Harden took off and the Rockets kept winning, whereas LeBron right now still has losses to the Pelicans and the Nets and early season struggles on his resume, but it's still early December. I think he's going to get to the MVP because he's doing more in the early part of this season than I've seen him do in early parts of seasons ever before. I had this conversation with David Griffin, the former GM of the Cavs, and he said, Chris, forget about the minutes that LeBron's playing. Look at the type of minutes that he's playing. He's out there having to score at the end of games, big, like end of a Memphis game, the Sacramento game.
Yes.
This is not stuff you're used to seeing from LeBron early season. I won't say he's coasted early season before, but he's picked his spots at times before. He's taken time off midseason before. This year, you're not seeing that. You're seeing full throttle LeBron James from game one, and that's why I think he's going to win it.
Quick question. How much of that is because he feels like he got snubbed last year? How much of that is because he's like, you know what? Maybe these guys don't think I was the MVP. Let me play more minutes. Let me play more games. Let me not sit the pine the way everyone in the league complained that they paid for tickets and I wasn't out there. Like, how much of what he's doing now do you think is because he's carrying a little bit of that?
Look, I think there's a part of LeBron that wants to win MVP every year. I don't doubt that. But I also think that LeBron is looking at his team and realizing that if I'm not playing at a 10, I'm going to lose. Look, we don't need to go back down the rabbit hole that we did last time of the Cavaliers and the Celtics.
No, you were great. No, you were great.
But let me just say this, like, LeBron is having to score 7 points in 90 seconds to beat Memphis, a double-digit streak losing team. He has to score the game winner to beat Sacramento, a team that, let's be honest, doesn't have any problem with losing this year.
Right.
Yes.
Like, he has to do all this. I think that's more important to LeBron than winning any more hardware.
I think one of the reasons to get to LeBron's quote being taken for granted is because one of the things that's always worked against LeBron is, in a weird way, is his basketball IQ. He will, listen, if the better shot is a pass, I'm going to make that pass even if I'm going to get killed for it. I'm going to set ego aside. And so last year, what was the narrative with the Cavs was LeBron's their best player, but Kyrie's their closer. And you know what? Kyrie was their closer. LeBron recognized this is something Kyrie is great at. It's actually, of all parts of Kyrie's game, the thing I think he's the best at. Closing basketball games is where he is better than almost anyone in the sport.
Seeing that this year.
Right, you're seeing it this year. He has been brilliant at Boston late in games. But what are we also seeing this year? LeBron could have been doing that too. LeBron saw, this is my number two, this is where he thrives, I'm going to let him have that shine. But now this year, the only guy leading Kyrie in fourth quarter points is LeBron. The only guy leading Kyrie in clutch points and clutch field goal percentage is LeBron. So there's something he could have been the best at, but his teammate loved it and was great at it. I'm going to let you handle this. And so that's worked against him as far as the way people are viewing him nationally. This year he has no choice. Like, he's got to be that guy for Cleveland.
Chris, I think the injury early in training camp did motivate him. Also, what he's seeing going on in Boston. I believe LeBron James sees everything, hears everything. That streak, that overall chemistry, Boston got LeBron's attention too.
Well, there's no question the injury has factored into the amount of minutes he's trying to play. He's literally working himself back into shape right now. He hasn't had an experience like a 10-day, I think it was, ankle injury. I think you're right to some degree with Boston. Like, LeBron consistently refers to Kyrie as the kid, and there is a method to that madness. He is trying to, I think, in some ways diminish Kyrie Irving. This young guy doing his thing in Boston. Everybody is talking about the Celtics, and no doubt that has gotten LeBron's attention.
Chris, thanks so much for stopping by today.
My pleasure.
A friend of the show.
Great as always. Good to see you,
Coming
man.
up, how badly do the Eagles
I got a real basketball expert.
Against the
Man.
Rams? That's